Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Digger Does here. Today we're getting back into Arnis De Mano, and I'm going to take a step back, go back to the basics a little bit, and cover the ranges that are found within Arnis De Mano, Eskrima, and Kali. Those are the three different styles of Filipino martial arts. So the ranges are Largo, Medeo, and Corto. Largo is where I can just reach out with my stick and touch my opponent's hand with the stick. That is Largo. Medeo is when I can actually be close enough in to make contact with the head, the shoulders, the torso, the stomach, the legs, that's middle range. Then Corto is close range. That means I can use the butt, or what they call the puño of the stick. I can do hubud, strike various parts of the body with the puño. Okay, the reason why I'm doing this video is a friend of mine requested that I apply stick fighting to use of the cane. Now, the stick I'm using is almost the same length as a cane. The viewer who suggested it was a friend of mine named Rod Cameron. Rod has background in Cali and Taekwondo. So the wheels were turning in my head when he asked the question. And I really didn't quite know what he was wanting. So I started doing some research on some of the older forms of Arnis and Eskrima, because those two would have some older techniques found in those that, well, even Cali would, but for the most part, Arnis would be the closest to what I needed to look at to see what I could find that would be what he was looking for. So when I was looking at a style called Bahala multi-system, it's a style that consists of 20 different styles found in the Philippines. And one of them is called Largo Mano. Largo Mano means long hand. And it's one of the older styles of Arnis found. And they usually employ a stick that's a little bit longer than the average 24-inch stick found in their system. They use a 36-inch stick. And Master Leo Heron, the founder of Bahala, actually used Largo Mano during World War II. They specially designed a sword longer than the normal swords used on the Philippines so that he could combat the Japanese samurai swords. Because with the normal 24-inch blade, he wouldn't be able to get that reach. So he went with a 36-inch blade. I wish I had one to show you. But that's what he used to combat the samurai swords, and he even used it in actual combat. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the first 5 angles in Arnis to explain the Largo Mano system. Okay? Now, in Largo Mano, you use a very deep stance. And basically, it's a deep bow and arrow stance where your weight is over your ankle. Okay, it's very deep, very karate-like, but it's for that system. So keep that in mind as you practice this. Now, up in that, say I have someone throwing an angle 1 to this side of my head. Now I'm going to step out in a right or left bow-legged stand or left bow stance, and I'm going to go under his attack. I'm going to step out and come under, and I'm going to strike him just under his wrist. If this was a blade, I would be cutting his wrist. Okay? Now, number 2, I'm going to step out in a right bow stance, deep bow stance, and I'm going to meet his angle 2 to this side of my head with a strike to the top of his wrist. See, I'm angled up and away from his attack, and at the same time, I'm cutting his wrist. Now, number 3 is going to come across from the hip, like this. He's going to be throwing it to this side of my arm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack with my own number 3, and stepping out into a left bow stance, and I'm going to attack the top of his arm. Okay? I'm coming across like this. I'm attacking his arm or his shoulder. Okay? Number 4, step out right leg, or right leg of bow stance, and his number 4 is coming to this shoulder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come across with my own, but I'm going to hit his bicep. Okay? I'm cutting his bicep. So I'm coming across here, just like that. Now number 5, it's a straight stab to the stomach, just like this. So how would I combat that? Well, I would step out right, left leg, and just like the number 1, I'm going to come up, and I'm going to strike him just under his wrist, right here. Left bow stance, come straight up, just under the wrist. That is Largo Mano. Now, if I was striking, doing the 5 angles, not the bending, if I'm attacking, it's going to look like this. Number 1, number 2. Ooh, I got back up a little bit. I almost took that out. So, let's try that again. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, now some of them, when they throw the number 3 or 4, they will hold it to their hip as they come across. And another thing they do in the Largo Mano system is they use another style combined with it called estilo elastico. And basically it translates to rubber band. And what they will do is, like, let's say my opponent throws a number 2 to this side of my head. Well, he go through a number 1 first. So I'm going to do the normal striking pattern, but as I step back to elude his number 2 strike, I'm going to rebound off of that strike here, bring it back, and then I'm going to throw the blade at him, just like this. Hear that? There's a lot of power in that number 2 strike because I'm not just using my arm to throw that attack. I am. Because you got to remember, there are no blocks in stick fighting. All the blocks are actually strikes. So even though I may be blocking, countering his strike, I'm also attacking. So I'm looking to chop something off. And even they do throwing the rope like we do in Arnis De Mano. But they do it a little different. Whenever they throw the rope, first they're up high, then as they go low, they're going to lean forward. Just like a rubber band effect. Some will go back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. So basically, you're just kind of doing this number. So back and forth. So as I come back, I'm striking up high. And as I come forward, I'm coming down. So back, high, low, forward. And remember, when you're doing the stance, you don't want to lean into the stance. That puts you off balance. You want your shoulders to be upright, chest square to your opponent. Okay? This is the proper way to do the Largo Mano stance. They even will do, it may look like a bow and arrow stance, but it's actually an oblique stance. In other words, I am perpendicular to my opponent. Okay? That is what I could show you about the Largo Mano system. For now, I didn't get to study it much when I was taking Arnis because we covered very little of the ranges as far as styles that were used within the ranges themselves. So the only one I'm familiar with the most as far as the older styles go is Largo Mano. Largo Mano is found almost in all Arnis systems. There's examples of it in Realissimo Rapido, Valendoac, Doce Paris, Black Eagle. It goes on and on and on. Rene Latosa's system even had it. But I'll go over the angles of attack again. So angle 1, angle 2. You can even, when you do that angle 2, you can do the, just add a little oomph to your attack. Angle 3. Whoops, that was angle 5. Sorry about that. Angle 3. Angle 4. Angle 5. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a like, come subscribe. There's more to come. This is Duker Dud saying do good and deuces. Bye-bye.